Good morning, everyone. How is everyone?
Awake and ready.
How are the rest of you? For those who don't know us, I'm Nayaswami Daiva, and this is my wife, Nayaswami Gangamata, and we feel very privileged to be sharing this day with you. We're in a holy season. It's precious. The music already this morning has set the tone. Shawl of Gold is one of my absolute favorites, and we hear it maybe once a year. But it speaks to the reading that we just heard Mari present. It speaks to the practicality of living in the presence of God. It speaks to the poignancy of human life and how when the fates take an unfriendly interest, it can get difficult and hard to manage, hard to keep going forward, but that if we keep our hearts open, if we keep ourselves in the presence of God, no matter what's coming to us or not coming to us, we remain in service, that God comes and supports us, that those with pure hearts, their needs I attend. And a lot of life, in fact, I would say that all of life is designed to bring each one of us into the understanding of how it really works. You know, we are going to tell the story in February. We're going to tell the story of the Mahabharata. It's the great Indian epic. It's one of the two great Indian epics that come down. It's the truths that were known universally during the last high ages, or any high age, because they're always the same truths. The Sanatana Dharma, brought into an epic tale, because we can often, even when we've forgotten consciously or lost the capacity consciously to understand deep and profound truths, we can get it through allegory, through story. So we're going to tell the story in the Bhagavad Gita, the great Indian scripture that has inspired people across hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. It's a very small chapter in this story. We're going to tell this story because life is an invitation to each one of us to learn how to live in the presence of truth. And one of the magical things about it is the gods are always getting involved in human life. They're always involved in the human drama, because truly spirit is always involved in our lives. We are blind to it often. We hold ourselves back from the perception of it. But it's always going on. And so the song was so sweet. They say that the trouble that we have, every single person, is that we expect of life things that life is not designed to give us. It's just that simple. We ask of life what life isn't designed to give. We want what? Security. Life isn't going to give us security. Anybody here still convinced that life is somehow going to provide the ultimate security? Okay, probably not, because you're in here. We've managed to figure that one out, but then you have to find where security is, because every one of us is driven to find security. Love. Anybody convinced that it's out there? Wearing the right lipstick and bow tie?
Well,
Probably not. And that even if you find the right lipstick and bow tie, that there are subplots always in the story. But love is true. Security is true. Joy is true. The things that we seek are absolutely true. And so we need to learn to ask of life what it's designed to give, and then ask of the source what it's designed to give. And therein lies the spiritual path. Now, we often put out tremendously good energy in exactly the wrong ways. Okay? So this is an example. This is a story of a little boy who wanted a bicycle, and he wanted it desperately. And he knew that he hadn't been behaving very well. So he went into his little, at night, he went and he prayed and he said, Jesus, I really want that bicycle. I want that bicycle so... he figured out that it was going to come not from his parents, but God was going to have to provide it somehow. He said, I really want that bicycle. I want that bicycle so bad that I'll behave myself for an entire week. He opened his eyes, looked around, and thought, that's probably not enough. So the next night he's praying, and he says, Jesus, I want that bicycle so bad that I'll behave myself for an entire year. And he looked around and thought for a little bit and realized there was no way he could stick that promise. It might be enough, but he was never going to get over the bar. And so he had a brain flash, and the next morning he got up real early after his parents had gone off to, we're preparing things and we're busy. And he snuck into his parents' bedroom, and there on the dresser, on the top of the dresser, his mother had a beautiful, beautiful statue of Mary. And he took it down oh so carefully and oh so lovingly. He went into his room and he wrapped it up in a blanket. He put it in another blanket, he put it in a box, and he put the box way up on a high shelf. Then he went over and he prayed and he said, Lord, Jesus, if you ever want to see your mother again. Anybody? Anybody? Is this familiar? Huh? We get the myths of life also. This is Ganga Mata's gift to me for this morning. And a little boy was out shopping with his mother, and they came across Santa Claus, right? And he went and sat on Santa's lap, and Santa said, what do you want for Christmas? And the little boy gave him the long list of things that he really wanted for Christmas. And he hopped down, and they went off shopping, and they went into another store, and there was Santa again. And, this is fun. So he went and sat in Santa's lap, and Santa looked at him and said, so tell me, my little man, what is it that you want for Christmas this year? And the little boy rolled his eyes and said, you really ought to write these things down. For 30 years now, I have spent my time trying to, for the entire life I've been here, I've been trying to figure out how life works. I knew very early on, I saw how people behaved toward each other, and I knew there was something rotten in Denmark, that there was something, that there was something missing, some element missing in how most people approached life and picked it up. And I have a fairly scientific nature, and I tried going through the sciences. I tried, every time I saw somebody who had a sense of wholeness, I would try and tune into what they had. And as long as they had that, I would keep drawing from them. But every single person, at some point, life would throw them a curveball. And you just watch that confidence, that sense of integration into life would just vanish like snow off the desert, like mist off a mirror, just gone. And they'd just be, at the mercy of life. And I knew enough. I would go, that's not it. That's not it. They've got a part of it, but that's not it. And it wasn't until after many years, I tried business, I tried all kinds of things, and was successful enough at everything to realize that if I continued in the effort, I would continue to be successful as I wanted. And every time I could look, you can look and see, what will the harvest be? Follow this out through the rest of your life. Follow this out. Does it get bigger? Is it more satisfying? Is more money even better? We had 5 stores and shipping company and manufacturing plant starting up back in 1976, 7, 8, somewhere in there. And we were successful. It was doing great. And we could just see ourselves coating the entire country with little stores and, doing all our own shipping and manufacturing and stuff. And then one day, because it was in Midwest, this was in the Midwest, one day the grain embargo happened. And the Midwest economy, interest rates soared, economy tanked, and everything folded up like a house of cards. And I went, well, that's not it. The things that we're looking for last. The things that we're looking for aren't subject to the ups and downs of this world, and we all know it. We all know that a little happiness is great. The first bite of chocolate ice cream is just fabulous, but you get into the 3rd or 4th bowl, and it just isn't it. Anguishing monotony, Yogananda said of this world. And yet this world is magic. There's a sweet story, The Littlest Angel. Anybody read The Littlest Angel? If you haven't read it, for Christmas this year, give yourself a present and read The Littlest Angel. It's about a little boy who loves his dog, loves this world, loves going out in nature and collecting things, and he dies real early and becomes an angel. And he's just a chocolate mess in heaven. You know, he's got little messy fingers. His halo always slips off to one side. He can't fly for beans. He's just a mess, and he's miserable. He misses Earth. He misses the power, the beauty of Spirit expressing through creation. It's a beautiful thing. This is God's dream. It's not a mistake. We should enjoy it. We should bathe ourselves in it. But we should never forget that it's a dream. We should never forget that this isn't our home. This is theater. And we should play our roles no matter what our role is. You know, the great tragedies, oh my God, they're what drive the storyline. And the fulfillment of our dreams on the far side of the tragedies, they're what we aspire to, and they're glorious. But they're, you know, what was one of the Hollywood magnates? He said, if you want a happy ending, it depends on where you stop the story. If you want a happy ending, you've got to stop the story here. But if you leave the story going, it always goes back down. It always comes back up. It always goes back down. It always comes back up. So if things are really rotten in your life, relax. Don't worry. It's going to come back up. And if things are really, 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 really good, don't get too excited. Because the roller coaster is going back down that hill. It's just a matter of time. And this isn't bad news, because we don't want to ask of life the things that life is not designed to give. You know, a friend of mine, a very dear friend, and we made our connection early in life when we were both rabidly political. We were going to solve the problems of life. And we knew that as soon as we ended the Vietnam War, things were going to be okay. And then, you know, take a look at all of the incredible complexities and near misses and tragedies and disasters and global issues we've had since that time. I want you to know I still in my mind wear the bumper sticker, "Don't blame me, I voted for McGovern." Anybody? If we had elected McGovern, none of this would have happened. There's always something. There's always the next thing. And this friend, she continues, God bless her soul, she continues to go from you know, tragic event to tragic event, to near miss, Fukushima, to what's happening in you know, Afghanistan, to what's happening with GMOs, to what's happening with organics, to what's happening with, I mean, the list is long and it's depressing. It's overwhelming. And not because it isn't good to have something to sink your teeth into and really go after, but because as soon as you solve one issue in life, the next one just bubbles up. Swami used to compare it to having a shirt in a tub of water. You're washing a shirt, and you try and get the whole shirt underwater. Anybody ever tried that? As soon as you squash down over here, it bubbles up over there. Always. I don't know where that bubble comes from, but it's always there. And it just moves around. It's the same thing, or the bubble in the waterbed mattress. Living in God, living in the presence of God. It's it. It's it. You know, I watch people, friends of ours, who seek, out of jobs. You know, and it happens to everybody at some time or another. We lose our employment. We lose traction with life as we know it. And people run frantically around trying to get the next job. And as if somehow that's going to make the only difference. We should be very practical. But somebody once said, you know, or they say, I've been praying for a new job and nothing's happening. But the issue is we have to put as much energy into our prayer life as we put into running around in circles. If you're going to spend 8 hours today out looking for a job, out knocking on doors, making your resume, mailing it out, tapping into what's online, if you want to replace that with prayer and you want it to be more effective, you have to put 8 hours into your prayer life, into self-offering, into that inner world, into the presence of God. You can't spend 20 minutes or 15 minutes on your knees praying about it and the rest of the time fussing or the rest of the time running in circles. It's good to be practical, but the most practical thing you'll find across all of time is being in tune with the Creator. The qualities of Spirit, the qualities of God are what? their love, their joy, their peace, their calmness, their wisdom, their power, and their light and their sound. But those are the qualities of God. They are the things that we spend all day long looking for, seeking, striving to accomplish or have access to in our lives. Is that true? Anybody wake up in the morning and think, gosh, I just want less power today. You know, I can't wait for somebody to take over my life. Anybody? Or how about, I can't wait to wake up tomorrow morning and be more stupid. Just have less access to understanding. Man, that's going to be so great. Or peace. You know, even if you're out there yelling for peace and got your sign, you know, even if you don't know how to get it, what we want is peace. We want the calmness that we carry, the peace that we carry around as calmness. And all of us want love. And all of us want fulfillment as joy and happiness. They are in the presence of God. We think that if we get that job, we'll have more love, we'll have more power, we'll have more wisdom, we'll have more connection with life. But if we have more joy, if we have more love, if we have more peace and calmness, then we'll have a greater connection with life. If we get it from the source. We cannot ask from life to give us things that can only be found inside in the presence of Spirit. People think that others hire you because of your resume, but they don't. They hire you because of the joy and the light and the freedom. And there are people with wonderful resumes who never get hired. Not because they don't have the long litany of accomplishments or theory on how they should be able to be involved in life, but because the light isn't there, the joy isn't there, the freedom isn't there, the creativity, the freshness, the connection with Spirit. Because that's what, even employers, that's what they want. They're looking for that connection. The most practical thing I've seen for myself, the most practical thing across these decades, these 30 years, is when I've held myself in the presence of God. When my first goal has been joy. My first goal has been expansive connection and service. Making sure that others' needs are taken care of. You know, and this is a topic I would like as we go through Christmas to think about. This is a time of giving. And often in the past, I haven't had this happen for a number of years, but it's something to think about. Many times people would, for lack of understanding, they would criticize Ananda because Ananda wasn't out feeding the poor, wasn't doing enough service work. And I thought about it. I thought about it for many years. Should Ananda be a charity service? It's a nonprofit. It's a religious nonprofit. It's not different than other churches. What should it be doing in service? And then I started realizing, think about all the things that need attended to in this world. How many people need fed? How many people need clothed? How much energy needs to go into stopping poisoning our food stream? How much energy needs to go into stopping wars? How much energy needs to go into helping, just even in our own city, the people who are in want? Where do you start? Where is the most important thing? If you only have X amount of time, you as an individual only have X amount of time and only have X amount of energy, how are you ever going to solve or fill the need of this world? It's enough to give despair. And so a good answer for each of us is to think about, if I can't do everything, I should do the most important thing that I can do. I should do the thing that has the most power. What's the most powerful thing I can do in this moment? What's the most powerful thing I can do today to help effect a change in this world? And then that's what you should do. Christ said, "The poor ye have with ye always, but me ye have not always." If we try and address the problem from the periphery, from going around, and believe me, the more people that are fed, the more people that are cared for, the better. So this isn't a suggestion that charities should shut down or do something else, or that people shouldn't care for each other at that level. But the more we try to address the issues at the periphery, the more we ourselves become empty. I read something this morning. I was, kind of in that. There's a new period of time. Somnolence. What is that period of time between sleep and wake? Somnambulance. Yeah, the twilight. Yeah. Okay. Well, it used to kind of be a dream state. Now it's a Facebook time, right? You roll over, you grab the phone, you kind of scan through. And there was a little note that they figured that every single person on this planet could be fed adequately, nourished, for something like $3 billion or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but it was something, maybe it was $8 billion, but it was, or 80 billion. But what it was the same amount of money that the whole world spends on armaments every 8 days. Think about that. It's not going to get solved at the surface because it's a consciousness problem. It's a problem of perspective. It's a problem of selfishness and greed and separation and attitude. We could take care of each other that quick if we changed consciousness. So if you have the capacity and you're in a place where consciousness is the story, you're in a place where that's the conversation. If you have only so much time, you should do the most important thing. You should change your own consciousness, and then you should help others who are yearning for something more to be able to change theirs. Because then that's the most powerful service you can provide. If you can change the heart of one person to be more expansive so that they feel the need of others, that will ripple out. Christ never wrote a book. He never posted a Facebook page. He never did anything outwardly. He never even practiced carpentry once he came back into the ministry. All he did was stand there and show what it can look like and help people feel for what a higher consciousness would be like, what it would be like to be in the presence of God. And people followed because they could feel how magical that was. And out of that came the loaves and the fishes. Out of that came a movement that has inspired billions of people since his passing to reach for something greater. We ourselves, that's our commitment, that's our challenge, that's our opportunity in this Christmas season and as yogis, is to reach for the highest service that we can find. I'm going to read just a little something. We could spend the rest of the week just reading these one after another because they're all about practicality and living in the presence of God. But I picked a couple that I feel like really capture the essence of this. So let's take a moment. Let's stand up for just a moment. Let's stand up and stretch. It's a great master. I attuned my life with thine. Now my life has become a long, unbroken inspiration. Thy fountain of bliss refreshes and delights me night and day, whether I be wakeful, fast asleep, or dreaming fondly of thee. Oh, what has become of me? Delight on overwhelming delight, endless, indescribable thrills of divine delight spray unceasingly over me. O aged nectar, wine of centuries, I found thee at last and will taste of thy sweetness forever, forever, forever. That's what it feels like to live in the presence of God. And then we have to do it not just in one moment, but moment by moment by moment. I take the sacred vow. Never will I lower my love's gaze below the eyebrow horizon, the point of divine contact, the eyebrow horizon of my constant thoughts of thee. Never will I turn my uplifted inner sight away from thee. Never will I let my mind dwell on anything that reminds me not of thee. I will disdain the nightmare of ignorant behavior. I will court all dreams of noble achievement, those of love, kindness, and understanding, for they are thy dreams. And though I dream many dreams, wakefully I will ever think of thee. In the sacred fire of constant remembrance, kept ever alight on my soul's altar. I will ever behold thy presence with the watchful eyes of devotional love. Thy grace has shown me that all the dualities of health and sickness, life and death, joy and sorrow are but passing fantasies. I am finished with those eternally self-canceling delusions. I am persuaded at last that there is but one abiding reality, thy eternal, ever conscious, ever new, ever thrilling infinite bliss. Let's take a moment of silence together.